The next question is dash is not a chemical change. Option A, baking an egg. Option B, melting of ice cube. Option C, baking a cake. Option D, rotting of banana. Okay, so dash is not a chemical change. Indirectly he is asking which of the following is a physical change. So physical change, as you know, that wherever a product is not formed, it is basically a physical change. Okay, so states changes is one of the example of the physical change. So if you see option B, melting of ice cube, it means the solid state is it converting into liquid state. So this is basically the physical change. Okay, so the option B, those who have given, they are right. And in the theory class we have seen what exactly is the difference between physical and chemical change. So in the physical change, no new substance will be formed, whereas in chemical change a substance will be formed directly or indirectly. Okay, in physical change only physical property are going to change, like state, shape or size, but in chemical change the chemical composition are going to be affected. And finally, the reversibility. Okay, physical change are generally reversible in nature, means from one state to another it can be converted back, and chemical change are mostly irreversible in nature. And the most popular example of physical change include melting of ice, boiling of water, glowing of platinum wire and crystallization. And if you talk about the chemical change, most important one is the rusting of iron, which is very slow chemical change, burning of food, digestion of food, fermentation of the substance. All these are example of chemical change. And there are few indicators that we have discussed that where you can identify the change is chemical change. It is basically when there is change in color, it indicates this is a chemical change. When gas is produced, yeah, it is chemical change. When change in state, although it is physical change, but if it is happening with the change like gas or change in color, it means it is the chemical change, right? When change in temperature, again it is one of the indicator. And finally, if light and sound is produced, which is not always going to happen in chemical change, but it sometime be a good indicator for the chemical change, right? Let's see the next question. Rusting of iron is common example of which? Physical change, exothermic, heat change, chemical change. Rusting of iron, student, you should know that when iron along with oxygen or water, basically that moisture present in the atmosphere, it get rusted because of the chemical change. Okay, rusting of iron is an example of chemical change, not the physical change. Okay, so option D is the right answer. Let's see the next question, a very important one. If an unsaturated sugar solution is prepared by mixing 100 gram of sugar with half liter of water, which of the following physical quantity will not change? Option A, mass. Option B, density. Option C, concentration. Option D, volume. Okay, since the sugar solution is unsaturated and you are mixing 100 gram of sugar with half liter of water, okay, so basically mass, density and concentration will definitely change, but the volume, since it is going to be dissolved in that water, volume is not going to be changed. Okay, you can think like that this is a beaker, this is a water, so this is the volume which it contains. So when it got dissolved, say these are the particles which are in the liquid. So when you are adding sugar, the small particle, it is going to be adjusted here. Okay, so the volume will not be changed, but the mass, density and concentration will definitely be affected. Okay, since mass is going to be changed, your density will be going to change, and since you are adding something, concentration will definitely be changed, right? So option D, volume will not be changed. The next question is, which one of the following observation help us to determine whether a chemical reaction has taken place or not? Change in state, gas emission, color change, all of these options. Yes, all of these happen in the chemical change. Okay, so if state is changing from one state to another along with the gas emission or color change, it is nothing but your chemical reaction. Okay, so option D is the right answer. Let's see the next question. Which one of the following is an example of chemical change? Dispersion of white light into 7 colors, softening of vegetable when cooked, wet soil lumps when dried get fragile, dissolving of salt in water. Okay, so you should not be confused with option D. Okay, option D is basically the physical change. Option A is again a physical change because no new substance is formed. Whereas if you see softening of vegetable when cooked, okay, so when you are passing the heat, it is going to generate new products, okay, and it softens the vegetable. So this is basically the chemical change happening in the vegetables. Okay, so option B is the right answer. Let's see the next question. Which one of the following is or are example of the chemical change? Crystallization of sodium chloride, melting of ice, souring of milk. Okay, so crystallization is not a chemical change, no new substance is formed, so this is a physical change. Okay, melting of ice, again the state is changed from solid to liquid, it is a physical change. Souring of milk, yes, it is basically changing the composition of milk, so it is going to be the chemical change. So option 3 only will be the right, so option B is the right answer. So those who have given option B, they are right. Quickly, let's see the next question. A chemical reaction become faster at higher temperature. This is the assertion. At higher temperature, molecular motion become rapid. Yes, it is a correct reason. So both A and B, A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation. Yes, when molecular motion become rapid, chemical reaction happen faster. Very simple statement. Okay, so option A is the right answer. Let's see the next question. Example of corrosion is what? Black coating on silver, green coating on copper, brown coating on iron, and all of the above. Student, you should not confuse with option C. Okay, option C, brown coating on iron, is only the corrosion. Corrosion can also happen on the silver as well as the copper. Okay, so all of the above are the example of corrosion. Okay, so option D is the right answer. Which of the following is not a physical change? Okay, not a physical change means you are telling that which of the following is a chemical change basically. Okay, melting of solid into liquid, it is a physical change, so this is incorrect. Liquefaction of gases into liquid, again only states are changed, so this is a physical change. Fermentation of substance, yes, this is a chemical change and it is not a physical change. Fermentation, as you know, when something gets fermented, some gas like CO2 and new substance are formed, so this is a chemical change, whereas evaporation is again a physical change. So option C, those who have given, they are right. Let's see the next question. Which of the following is not a chemical change? Fuel combustion, yes, it is a chemical change, so this is incorrect. Electrolysis of acidic water, it is again a chemical change. Oxidation or rusting of iron, it is again a chemical change. So glowing of platinum wire is a physical change and it's not a chemical change. Okay, so option D is the right answer.